Welcome back to the show we call Start a Biz, and you can find us on Start a Biz Radio Network. Also, you can go to Hometown Station, like Jocelyn does, listens in her car, hometownstation.com, and you can listen to Aaron Scott Young and I on your smartphone, right? All right. Yeah. So this is I'm interested in this segment. I'm coaching a young man from New Jersey, flew all the way out to California to meet me a couple of weeks ago. Now, I will, disclaimers, parents have money, and they're paying me to coach him up. And I talked to his mother the other day, and she said, how's he doing? I said, he's doing incredibly well. So this segment is about how do you have access? How do you find access? How do you meet the Aaron Scott Youngs of the world? Because when I was talking to him at lunch today, Aaron, this is interesting, and he graduated from a very fine university back east, and he never opened up a textbook. He said his professors were boring. I said, how did you pass the classes? I'm smart. But he said he didn't learn anything. And no, I'm being serious. He said he didn't learn a darn thing in college about business. I said, well, what did you learn? He said, I learned a lot about girls. I said, you didn't learn anything about girls. He said, if you think you learned about girls, you're fooling yourself. But anyway, how do you start? How do people find you, Aaron Scott Young? Yeah, they go to their website, but then they have to pay you. I mean, you're not cheap, dog.
No, well, but you know how they find us is you've got to be out. I was thinking about that just today. You got to get out and see the people. If you're just hanging around, in your house, or if you're just sitting in a cubicle all day and you're not getting out, you're not meeting other people, you're not going to meetup groups at night, you're not getting involved with Toastmasters or some place where people who are trying to improve themselves. If you're not getting out with those people, then you're never going to meet them. Those people will meet each other. The reason I think, unless you've got a specific educational goal, like you want to be a doctor, I think the best thing about college is that you get to learn who you are. You get to learn what you're interested in, and you get to meet other interesting people. But if you think that, I think I said this last week, if you see college as a golden ticket to a successful home in the suburbs and a 3-week paid vacation, you're kind of crazy actually in this day and age. There was just a report that came out that said the business hiring climate is really off right now. In small businesses, companies under 100 employees, are only 11% of them are planning on hiring in 2016. So if you're just looking for a job, you're not paying a lot of attention to what the real climate of the world is. You need to look at how do you bring some value to the market? How do you start a business? How do you do it? And you've got to find mentors, and the way you find them is by getting out and mixing it up. It doesn't have to be somebody famous who's a big-time author, who's a multi-million-dollar podcaster.
Cut it out.
Like you, I'm saying you can talk to somebody who's got a successful storefront in your town. Go find out who the best real estate agent is in your town. Go talk to somebody who's been down the path and who's learned a few things that work.
Because they will actually
they'll buy your lunch for you.
Yeah, it's amazing when you approach now. Finding these successful people isn't always easy. Come on, I mean,
you can find them. They're actually more accessible than a lot of people, I think.
Well,
maybe because I get access to them. I don't know, but go ahead. The point is they're there. It doesn't have to be a famous person. You need to find somebody who's done something well and find out what can they teach you about being successful, at being a good woodworker, at being a good dentist.
Okay, time out, goat hunter.
No, I'm on a roll, baby.
Time out, goat hunter. So you go to school. You're a goat hunter, and we'll talk about that. That's your new nickname, the goat hunter. So. You go to school, and I don't want to bash the school he went to, but it was a fine school on the East Coast. These kids coming out of college aren't prepared. He's not prepared. He's honest enough, or his parents were honest enough to tell me he wasn't capable of getting well employed because he couldn't understand how capitalism works. He didn't understand how the world works. He didn't learn how the world works in college. And think about people who are 34 or 35 years old and they're still struggling, Aaron. They're barely getting by. I don't think we understand that America right now is in tough shape, because where do you learn the laws of success? How could a young person, or let's take a 35-year-old who's been in the workforce for a number of years, do they even understand what it takes to have a winning life? Do they understand the sacrifices?
Sure.
They don't. They don't.
Well, okay. Here I'm gonna take exception with what you're saying, because there are a lot of people who are in jobs who have a winning life. They have a happy life. They get to do fun things, and they coach Little League, and they work in their church group, and they're happy. And so being an entrepreneur is not for everyone. But if the people that are listening to this program, believe me, I think they're going to tune their dial off to something else if they're not interested in business, because we're looking for people who are serious about taking the reins of their own life, taking control of their own life. But
well, you could be happy at 35 and go to just what you. But what happens at 50 when you're aged out? If you're aged out at 50, 52, 54, 55, companies are going, well, you know what? We can hire that 25-year-old for half the money, or 28-year-old for half the money. They don't want to pay the health insurance. Come on, Aaron Young.
They're the fastest growing segment of new business owners is 55 and older. You're right. They're getting aged out of their corporate job. They've built up some money in a 401k. Their kids have grown up. They're moving out, and now they're saying, "Hey, I'm going to go open a Wendy's franchise. I'm going to go get a Zuka juice, or Jamba juice, or whatever it's called." That's the fastest growing group of people starting new companies.
But they're not prepared. You're up in Washington smoking too much weed. They're not prepared. They can go and...
I've never admitted to any weed in my life. But you know what? One industry is growing fast. The marijuana industry is exploding up here. We've got the what's it called? It's called the Cannabis Country Store, right on the downtown main street of my little town of Battleground. Cannabis.
Now you got 20 acres.
You know what it's connected to, Coach?
No.
You know what? There's two businesses in this building. Cannabis Country Store, I kid you not, and a bakery. I think they go in to get the cannabis, they go get their food, and they can get munchy, and they're good eating their donuts.
It's coming to California, man.
Buy weed on Craigslist.
No, it's coming.
Amazing to me.
Every state will be legalizing weed, but here, let's get back to you're listening to a show called Start a Biz. Aaron Scott Young and Coach Ron Tunick. Go to CoachTunick.com if you want to find out who I am. Look, the bottom line is America's not prepared. People can open up a business. Then what do you do? We just had Karen Leland on talking about branding and imaging. That costs money. I mean, the truth of the matter is, if you don't understand the laws of success, if you don't understand, and let's say you don't even have a work ethic, let's say your work ethic is poor. Let's start there. But how about, what do you focus on, Aaron Scott Young? Who do you talk to? How do you problem solve?
Well, first of all, let's just get some real clarity here. As a guy who's employed hundreds of people over the years, hundreds and hundreds of people over the years, and still employ a bunch of people, if your work ethic sucks, then you're never going to be able to climb out of that trench that you're describing. The people who are going to be able to be successful are the ones who, regardless of their circumstances, look around and say, "Hey, you know what? There's a need I can fill." You could be anti-rap music. You can maybe think gangster rap is a bad thing, but there are people in the worst neighborhoods right there in LA County, in the worst neighborhoods in that place, the most impoverished, most dangerous, fathers in jail, so on and so forth. And the people that saw a need in the market and said, "We can tell our story," like Karen talked about, telling your personal story, your signature story. Those people have exploded out. Many of them become multi-million-dollar moguls because they found a need that they could speak to directly, and they did it. Entrepreneurs are people who look around and see something. The rest, if we're going to just talk about employees and work ethic and people that are unprepared, we can do that. But what I want to do is say,
can I give out our phone? Can I give out a phone number?
No. What number?
The number that people may want to talk to us.
If they want to get some coaching on how to do this,
661-298-5487. 661-298-5487. But the issue is where you're not. I mean, if somebody calls you, you would talk to them. I know you would talk to them. Yeah, but you charge hundreds of dollars an hour. Most people don't have
thousands of dollars an hour.
Oh, really? I'm just hundreds.
$2,000 an hour.
Are you?
No, but that's not a plug for me. Here's the deal. I had somebody this morning from Columbus, Ohio, who met me at an event, and she had a question, and she sent me a Facebook message, and I answered her question, and then she kind of poured her heart out, and I just said, look at this book, think about this. I gave her a couple little tips, and you know what? That will make a difference for her. Just like people decided to call in on the show today and ask a few questions, you and I.
Well, they're trying to call in. We got some phone issues. 298-5487. We're going to fix the phones here. 298-5487 in the 661. But let's get back to, you're charging thousands and I'm charging hundreds, so I need to learn how to charge thousands. But so
I'll coach you on that, Coach. It's a $5,000 1 hour lesson.
I figured this was going to happen. Our show is brought to you by Laughlin USA. Don't run a business without the coach and Aaron, but don't start your business without Laughlin USA. They have all the documents. They've been doing it since, 44 years. 44 years they've been in business. LaughlinUSA.com. Also, let me say this to you. You own a home. You want to buy a home. Let's say you own the home, you want to sell it. There's only one guy I would recommend, and I can't be more serious when I say this. His name is David Bartels. David Bartels. Yeah, this guy is really, really good. David Bartels of Help You Sell. We're trying to fix the phones here at KHTS. We'll get them fixed up. You can call in. Aaron Scott Young, my partner here on show we call Start-A-Biz. We're going to be all over the country here pretty soon there, partner. And we need to help America. I mean, America is relying on you and I. We're like the fire department. We got to show up and help people. Business
dial 911 KHTS 1220 AM, and we'll help you out. Now, are the phones working yet? Because otherwise, I'll tell a story.
Not yet. We're not working yet. We'll get them fixing. We have all. They have all this new technology and electronic stuff. Oh, we do have a caller. We do have a caller.
Can you hear me?
No caller.
Yeah, there's somebody there.
Oh, caller. What's your name, caller?
Can you hear me? This is John from Canyon Country. How are you today?
Oh, good, John. I love Canyon Country. What's up there, buddy boy? Thanks for trying to get in, man. It's what's on your mind?
It was a bit of a hike. I have a son, 21 years old, senior in college, and you guys hit on something about capitalism. And all his teachers might be fabulous, but they are redistributionists. They're not capitalists. And what would you suggest for him to go learn about? Should he contact you guys? What should he do to get going on being an entrepreneur and a businessman?
What's he studying? This is Aaron. What's he studying right now, John?
He is studying nanoscience and engineering.
Well, so nanoscience, he might actually have a bunch of people that will be interested in what he's doing, because the nanotechnology, both in oil and gas and in biotech, is a hot industry right now. But if he wants to be entrepreneurial, I was thinking about one of the most successful guys I know started a little company called WebMD. Have you ever heard of him? And
use it all the time, actually.
So anyway, you know what his undergraduate degree was in? German literature. No. German literature is what he studied as undergrad. And he'd already been a very successful businessman before he went back to Harvard and got his MBA, and then worked for another technology company before he came up with the idea that turned into WebMD. Here's the point. if you've got a degree, you can go ahead and go start in the marketplace, start meeting people. The trick is don't just sit on your hands at that point. A guy at 21, 22 years old, in my opinion, the best thing he can do is go get a few cool experiences under his wings and get some leadership training, because then you can say, okay, look, I came out with this degree. I worked for Monsanto or something. I was a team leader there, and now I'm 28, and I'm starting my own firm in nanotechnology. And those kinds of things on your resume look really good when you go out to look for capital or investor capital and so on. You want to say, look, I did the work, I got my bones, and now I'm ready to start on my own. So for a kid who's already that far along in a hot industry, that would be my advice. But if he wants to talk to people, start getting involved and start getting involved with good people that can give you guidance while you go out and cut your teeth in the market. That's what I think. That's my take.
Thank you very much.
Coach, are you still with us, brother?
Yeah, I don't even know what nanoscience is. I couldn't contribute to the conversation because it's way over my pay grade, but that's impressive as kids that do nanoscience. All right, we got people lined up. Next caller, what's your name, please?
Flip from Canyon Country.
Everybody's from Canyon Country. Anybody live in Valencia anymore? So welcome to Start a Biz. Thank you, Cliff. So what's your question?
Flip. Say my name right, please.
Yes, sir.
Flip?
Flip.
Flip. Hey, that first half hour of your show was very, very interesting. I really enjoyed it with the lady. Very, very, very good.
Thank you.
Great.
And my question is, you two guys are on two different sides when it comes to education and college. Am I hearing that correctly?
Well, I think you're better off finding a mentor. If you're 18 and you don't know what you want to do in life, if you're struggling, look, I wasn't a good student. I stayed in school because of my wife. I got married young, and I married way over my head. It's Flip, right? I love your name, Flip.
Yeah, like a famous comedian.
Okay, I love your name. So, Flip, I'm somebody that says, look, if you know you're not going to be a doctor, lawyer, fireman, Indian chief, go find somebody that's an expert at what they do. I think that kid is better off spending time in the next 4 or 5 years learning about life, learning about how to make a living, learning about a business. That's my take on it. So what's your take, Aaron? Scott Young?
Well, what's ironic is, if I'm reading Flip's question correctly, is I went to 1 year of junior college. I don't even know if I got grades. I was in the music program. I was doing entrepreneurial stuff. And I chased girls and sang, and so I'm not a product of the educational system. I got horrible grades in high school. I had a 1.9 GPA, and yet I scored in the top 5% in the country on my ACTs. I started my first business that had a payroll at 18. What I'm saying is that most kids that are growing up in the city, especially, there's not a lot of substantive work for them to be learning to do, and unless they're blessed enough to be surrounded by their parents' friends or associates who are entrepreneurial, they're not. It's kind of like most people don't know where their food comes from. Well, most people don't know where business comes from, where money comes from.
Yeah, but if their parents are struggling, if their parents never saved a dime, if their entire reference, I was talking to a young guy the other day.
You're talking about my parents. You're talking about my parents now.
Okay, Flip, are you still with us?
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to follow up on because you're talking to a college graduate who's 62 years old. And I worked for the man, made a lot of money working for the man. And one of the men I worked for turned out to be a role model, and like you were talking about. And the bottom line is I worked for the man, I worked for myself, then I went back to working for the man, and I worked for myself, and I've been successful in all 3 and 4 stops. But my thing is, you're talking about a role model in the workforce, and I've had 2 and 3 of those. And my dad, hard work and work ethic is really what got me to where I am today. But I raised 4 kids, and I educated them all, and very, very successful, my 4 kids. But I hear you guys talking, and I feel like you're downgrading a kid that shouldn't go to college out of high school.
No, not me, Flip. Let me tell you, I think that if they have a plan, if they have something that they want to do, then there's nothing wrong with it. And even if they want to be entrepreneurial, there's nothing wrong with going to college at all. What we're saying is that you've got a rampant school debt, school loan debt, huge, that most kids are not getting out of until they're almost 50 years old. And you've got tremendous numbers of people that have a degree, undergraduate, a master's, couple of PhDs. I'm not kidding. There's a woman that works at Safeway in our little town, Battleground, who has 2 PhDs and cannot find work to save her life. And she says, I've got all this debt. I think all we're saying is that college is not a free pass into a successful upper middle class life. I think what we're saying is that find a mentor and find a way to take your education and apply it in a big company or entrepreneurially in such a way that you add.
We got to take a hard break. We got to take a hard break on the show. We call it start. But Flip, we're honored that you listen. Keep listening, because I'm gonna chime in after the break. It's a great question. I'm honored that you would call in and listen. I'm going to finish off your great question. We got to take a hard break. We'll be right back on the show we call Start a Biz. I'm going to be probably upsetting a few people when we get back. We'll be right back. And I'm serious, don't run your business without Aaron Scott Young and the coach. We're here for you every Thursday and on the weekends at our flagship station, KHTS 1220 AM. And our goal is real simple. We want you to do better in your life. And I know, Flip, you're still listening, and honored that you called. We had so many callers we couldn't put on the air. But I just want to finish off on this college thing, because I talk to a lot of young people, and I know that young people are having a hard time getting into the careers that they want, making the kind of money they want, and college is not preparing kids, ladies and gentlemen. They're just not, and you have to go and look at a type of career. If you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be 8-9 years going to school. A lawyer, 5, 6, 7 years. I get all that, and those are the people that know what they want to do, and God bless them, and good for them. But what about the 50 or 60% of people that have no clue as to what they want to do in life? I just think, Aaron Scott Young, you're better
80 or
off.
90%. 80 or 90%. Most people don't know what they want to do.
I think if somebody hung around you for 4 years, I would guarantee that they would have a life. That's all I'm going to say. So we got.
Well, I appreciated what Flip said about his kids, and good for him. And isn't it great to see a dad who's put in his time? He went to school. He followed a good route. He's been in and out of working for other people. He put his kids through school. They're productive and adding to the community. That is a great legacy. Good for him. I'm nothing but impressed by that.
But think about part of that too.
Go ahead.
Part of that is that he's a loving father. He was focused on his kids. I mean, think about, I don't know Flip from Adam, and I'm sorry that I called him Cliff, but he probably was one of these focused dads that talked about college, talked about education, talked about how important it was to get educated. So getting educated doesn't necessarily mean, Aaron Scott Young, that you have to go to college. That's all I'm trying to say. There's so many different ways to gain knowledge. Can I leave it at that?
Lots of ways. College was great for many years. It became a de facto. Like kids are growing up in the school systems. They spend all day long in high school. They get out, and if they don't have direction, they're just, they're doing nothing. So they've got all these, community colleges and state colleges and higher end colleges that then they can kind of go and kill another 4 or 5 years. And
can you believe our time's up? Can you believe our time's up?
No way. Our time is up.
Our time is up. I just want to give a shout out to David Bartels. If you're going to sell your house, just remember the name, David Bartels. Here's his phone number, 818, I'm serious now, If you're going to sell your house, this is the best. 818-584-6830. David Bartels, he will sell your house. We'll see you next week. We're honored that you're listening. We'll see you next week. AaronScottYoung.com and CoachTunic.com on the show we call Start a Biz.